different. This is a very long-awaited part 2 of the Learning How to Survive. Hello, you scared the crap out of me. See, I can do it without even trying. I don't know what you and Squire keep playing around for. But, thank you, Alice. But the part we're going to get at to now is we're going to jump ahead to where you've already landed, you've utilized the drop pod that you start out with, and you've gotten yourself a basic starting system. Now, you can go a little bit beyond this, you can try to skip around a little bit, but for the majority of people, they're going to start out with a simple system. You got one base battery, your respawn pod, basic assembler, basic refinery, and at least one cargo container, and then at minimum one wind turbine. So this is pretty much where everybody's going to be fairly quickly. Now the next part is, up to this point, you very well may have been digging... Sorry, Alice. So by this point, you're probably very, very sick and tired of digging everything by hand with your drill, because it's most of the time it's very unlikely that you're going to obtain anything higher than just the basic tools that you spawn in with. But there are some occasional times when you may. So now, I am in creative mode to try to speed this up along, but I'm going to try to give you two methods you can do to actually get to the point where you're able to actually mine without using your hand tool. Now, the first and most basic, and it's arguably, personally, I feel it's the best because you can continue doing and building stuff before even needing a ship. Because at this point, all of your cobalt and your metal grids have gone into building your cargo container. So you don't really have the ability to use really many grids to make thrusters. So you're going to pull up your menu, and it's kind of entirely up to you which process you want to go with this. Yeah, Alice, absolutely. I'm all for asking questions. I always like to go with a hinge first, just because for me it makes it simple. You're either going to be along the side of a mountain in a valley or something along the lines. But if you really wanted to, you can use a hinge, or you can use a rotor. So we're going to place the hinge, and I always try to pay attention to... Oop. Wrong button. There we go. I always try to pay attention to this little nub right here. This is a good indicator of which way it's facing. I don't know if it's the front, I don't know if it's the back, but I usually always try to have it facing the opposite direction of what I want to be the front. So now we have to get rid of, when you spawn it in, it's going to be just the frame, but it's obviously going to come with a hinge. It's like... Yes, Alice, it doesn't matter if you're on Earth, Mars, Alien, the Moon, or drifting through space attached to the side of an asteroid. You will always be at this point. Although, being in space, you're going to already start out with these, so there is a little bit of a difference with that. But it's basically, you're skipping the small grid stuff and going right into this, because you'll already start out with a cargo container. You'll actually have two batteries, some solar power, and you don't get a basic refinery or an assembler, so I take that back. You get a cargo container, and you'll get this. You get a oxygen tank and an H2O2 generator. That's it, as far as your production system goes. So now, you're going to go ahead, grind down the center, pull up your control panel, go to hinge. Just as force of habit, I always add inertia dampeners. Rotor lock, because you don't want whatever you're about to do to move around and get damaged before it's completely built. and then attach small head. The reason I attached a small head is because it's a bit cheaper than building the full-size everything going to the drill, because the real point is the drill. So next we're going to pull out the... oh crap, my battery's getting low. You're going to pull out your conveyor junction, and you're going to cycle through until you get to the converter. Now, you're going to want to have it placed. You can go vertical with them, you can go horizontal, doesn't really matter. You can even run off the sides. It all depends on where and how you're building and how close to something you are. Next, you're going to want to cycle through advanced setting, or advanced systems, and you're going to want to get a piston. We're going to add one piston, and just for good measure, we'll add another piston. Now we get to this part. Alright, so you're going to want to cycle around until you get to the drill. Alright, so you can put it straight out like this, or you can put it straight like this. Now, some of you may be wondering, why would I want to do this? Well, you'll actually be able to dig straight down and get in and underneath your base. So what you can do, I'm going to get into the systems, go to my 2 pistons that I just added, because each one of those pistons count as a subgrid, which is why everything but the drill is lit up in a different color. The more subgrids you have, the more rainbow color it stands for, and each one of those colors does mean something. White is white is what is immediately connected to it, fixed. Then orange is what is your secondary. Then yellow. I kind of quit paying attention to it after that. I think it goes red, or not red. Maybe blue or green. It just gets more and more colorful. I mean, there's pink, blue, purple, everything. So, we are now in a position where we're going to turn the drill head on, and now it's close enough to the ground that it's going to immediately begin digging. Now, the benefit of this is it's just running running your inventory straight in. So now, with this basic system, you're done. You don't really need to worry about hand mining anymore. And then you, of course, have the option to go to the hinge. So you got, okay, there it is, yeah. So white is the hinge, and then it goes into orange and yellow, and then kind of almost a ketchup red. Now, what you can do is be very gentle with this, because if you go too fast, you will blow something up. Now your rotor needs to be unlocked, and just go a little bit in one direction. Negative is up. 0.10 RPM. So now it's slowly going down. And you are, of course, it might actually... yeah, there it goes. I was say it might not be getting enough yet. So now that's just running. And from this point, you can go on to the next step, whether it's you want to start building a base, you want to build a rover to help go out and find something. But that's all you have to do. Now, once this is done a little bit further, I kind of want to visualize when this is at maybe a 30 to 45 degree angle. Then you can stop the hinge, reorientate your drill head, and then you can extend your pistons to go straight down. But if I let this continue going, this is all one grid, obviously. This drill should not damage that block. I say should because Space Engineers likes to do weird things. So, now it's really tearing into some stone. That's all getting taken care of. Let's go check out the base refinery. And it's not much, but we've got a nice little supply of resources. And all of that was done just using small grid. And the argument can be made about making a drill rig utilizing small grid or small drill heads as opposed to large grid, because from a resource standpoint, you're looking at only 32 steel plates, 4 large steel tubes. I mean, it's very, very cheap, both to add more, both to break, what have you. Now, let's see. If this was not attached, that would be damaging the heck out of it, but it's not damaging it. And I can go as far as to show global damage and everything is turned on. So we're right there. Now that's honestly a lot further than I was really wanting it to go, so I just hit reverse. There we go. Let you get right there. Turn the drill off. And we're not going to tell the hinge to really stop, as we are going to tell it to rotor lock, because if it doesn't stop, or if it ever gets unlocked for whatever reason, it's just going to go up. So in this situation, that's not a bad thing. Now, sorry. We will remove the drill head. Now we can go straight down, and all I've done is just reorient it. Turn it on. There we go. And now, when you start combining hinges, rotors, and pistons... Oh, hello, Dark Wolf. How are you doing, buddy? When you start combining hinges, rotors, and pistons, basically lots and lots of moving parts, weird, freaky things can go nuts. It feels like I'm mowing the lawn, honestly, with all the little pixels. That's pretty funny. But in this instance, we're going to be okay because it's only a couple small ones. I do recommend, especially when you're first starting out, only move one piston at a time. So it's going to go in, push in. Now you can see how it's responding. We're actually forcing the drill head into the ground. In a small setup like this, it's okay. But especially when you get into the large grid stuff, you can have a lot of really bad things happening. Like a lot of times, yeah, sometimes what will end up happening is the hinge will be fine, pistons, your connection points, even your drill, everything will be fine, except for Rick Sanchez. Sorry, Dark Wolf, I don't catch the reference. I do apologize. But I'm actually doing alright. I've been meaning to get this done for a while and just kind of been putting it off.
You never finished what you were saying. You said except for.
Yes, but everything will be fine when you're forcing the drill head, piston, rig, crane, whatever you have. Yes, drilling into a planet, absolutely. Sorry, I never really watched a whole lot of Rick and Morty. I know, let the hate flow. But what will actually end up breaking is the part itself that everything is connected to, whether it's the hinge part, the piston head part. Let's see, right here. It's kind of finicky, but that's the piston. Yeah, piston head. And the rotor head. Those are all extremely, extremely weak. So we're going to go ahead and turn the drill off. Now, like I said, this is just one option. That little setup right there has netted me, and that's only been a few minutes, nearly 500 iron ingots, 40 and 60 of silicone and nickel. I mean, this is pretty decent. You can actually get ahead and start building a rover pretty well. And all you would honestly have to do is just add more pistons, and you can go further and further in. You can also get really creative, and instead of going with a drill straight on the end of this, this game is only chill, Dark Wolf, when I'm not being shot at, because there's a heavy combat side of this game. This is just pure 100% vanilla right now for this, as I didn't... The first one I did, I actually had a few mods, and I kind of felt like it was taking away from it. Slade, how are you doing? Um, but I didn't want to load any mods because I wanted everybody to have. Oh, thank you very much, Slade. You are a wonderful person as well. I wanted everybody to understand, come from the same starting point. So you're going to go from your survival drop pod to this structure from that, and then you have two options with the drill and the next part that I'm going to do. But the other alteration you can do, aside from adding more pistons to continue, again, we're trying to do everything we can to refrain. Oh, thank you for the water, Alice. Uh, we're doing everything we can to refrain from having to do all of this mining anymore by hand. Slay, that's really good. That's awesome. You're doing better. I've been extremely tired and exhausted all day. I'm not gonna lie. It is a miracle I'm streaming right now. Um, but instead of doing the drill itself, you can actually add a rotor. Now, when doing this, I don't recommend doing this until you are a little bit more proficient with the game. So you're going to want to have an advanced rotor, small advanced rotor, and now this is where when you have your hand drill out, or even when you're on a rig with a drill head on it, one for a controller, your right trigger is what you collect stone resources with, and your left trigger is how you make it go away. So, using a little bit of left trigger drilling, I've cleared out and made a larger space. Now, I can add a head like this, and now it's going to begin rotating at this level, gaining more material, and all I've done is just added one little part. Again, very, very cheap, cost effective, and all ore can travel through small conveyor junction or small conveyor ports. Slane, I don't know if it's just because of the full moon or if I've got a vitamin deficiency like Rose thinks, which I mean it very well could be. I try to take care of myself to the best of my ability, but things happen. And then the other option you could do, remove the drill. Let's say you want to continue going forward, if I'm not in the way. So you have here. Yeah, no, let's see if I can rotate it around. I might not have enough space. Yeah, so that's got a little bit more space right there.
I love the fact that you can see the footprints.
Yeah, the footprints is actually really nice. I don't remember how long ago that was, but even the landing gears and mag plates, when they're in the ground, they leave an actual print. Oh Lord, I'll have my little Welsh sister and my beautiful girlfriend on my ass if I don't take care of myself. So the idea is when you go in, because again, every time you add a subgrid, whether it's pistons, hinges, rotors, you're going to want to go in, and now all the way at the top, as it's alphabetized, it's now another color. So now we are here at the, what is that, kind of a goldish yellowish? Yeah, kind of a golden yellow, or just gold outright. You want to use share inertia, because if you don't share inertia, oh geez, Slade, I don't need any more people ganging up on me. The share inertia helps basically equal out to where, in this case, because all of these are sharing inertia, it's telling this whole entire grid system that this one moving part has less mass to it than all of this structure. Now, when you're using fixed and built-in bases and stuff, Perfectly fine. Really, no issue. You don't start going into any issues with sharing inertia until you have mobile grids, especially rovers. You will do some crazy stuff while that's going on. Now, the downside about having this is you're going to have to do a little bit of babysitting of it until you can be able to make one full pass. But now you're collecting double the amount. Every time you add a drill, you're basically going out a little bit further and collecting stone faster. You also have the caveat of each one of these drills holds 3375 liters of material. So now you have a little bit of extra storage. So while your refinery is chugging away, eating up everything you make, and let's say this container would be full, which is possible to happen depending on how you want to build your rig, you'll have extra storage in those. Downside is if your drill head, which is what I call this especially, gets damaged, now your drills have fallen off and you're just going to have to deal with it. You can just go into the system, tell it to reattach a head. It's just like the same way we went in and told the hinge to add a small part. You just add the hinge part or the rotor part onto the end of the advanced, grind the drills down and reattach them, and that's it. From that point on, you can pretty much continue building onto them as much as you like. Oh Lord, Kentucky. I like staying as far away from Kentucky as I can. But no, I do like Kentucky. It is a beautiful state. Let me get a little bit of power so I don't have her Karen yelling at me about that. So now, that is the first and, in my opinion, the easiest and fastest way to go and get yourself into the next step, whether building a rover for scouting, finding more ores, building a ship or something, what have you. Now the other is, let's say you've already gotten, or you went around, you've collected all of your you've collected a couple loads of cobalt, and you have everything you need, and you just want to go ahead and just go straight into building a miner. Fine, no problem. So just like we did with the hinge, place the rotor, grind away the head, go into your control panel, find said, oops, that is not the one I wanted actually. I just need a regular rotor. There we go. Go to the rotor, remember share inertia, rotor lock, add small head. Now in this case, again, nothing at all to build this. And now we're going to get into building a miner. Now I'm going to try to make this as cheap as possible, so it's going to be as fugly as it possibly can be. I remember driving through Kentucky at one point and passing one of the water towers, and it said, "Welcome to Florence, y'all." I'm like, I love it. So, build yourself out a little stem. This is going to either become your core of your ship, or it's going to get you far enough away from your structure. That way you're going to be able to build. Now, what you want to do is, however you go about doing this, we're going to go with medium cargo containers, because they would be the easiest to build stuff around. First, you want to go ahead and get yourself a couple batteries. Doesn't matter which way they're at, where they're at, as long as they're on the grid, get them placed. And with them being the very first thing, go into your systems, and now, because those are on a subgrid, you know for a fact that, okay, the white battery name right here, this is the large battery. That's not the one we want. We want to have the two secondary batteries that are on that grid. Go to them, set them to recharge. You will see the lights on the batteries themselves have just turned yellow. I'm going to put them in a group right now just to get that done and out of the way. Don't turn them off. Save that. Alright, so now we have all the time in the world. That way, this is recharging while we're building this. So we're not going to be sitting and waiting immediately. We can just immediately get done, cut it free, go get something. Now, because we're going with medium cargo containers, there we go. Again, with ore, the small cargo container junction ports, these guys right here, all ore can pass through that, and some small ammo. Gatling guns and stuff, usually those can fit through this with no issue. Everything goes through a large port, so it's really no question about that. So I guess the real question then comes, how do you want this to be facing? With this being the first miner, a lot of people try to make it look pretty, never get it done, or it takes forever to get it built. You don't want to be stuck in this state of building your starter miner for too long, because it will become very discouraging. Is at some point in time your thoughts are going to run to, why is it taking me so long to do this? I'm tired of doing this all by hand. So that's the goal. I just keep myself focused on the goal of getting away from using the hand drill as much as possible. Now we got this. Now we're going to want to go with the cockpit. If you have any of the DLCs, I recommend using any of those cockpits, because some of them are a lot cheaper than the vanilla. However, I tend to actually like using... I tend to like using the industrial, because it gives you a nice, large, open face. Why is that sun moving so quickly? I'll fly through the night. And let's get right about... Oop. Come on. There we go. Alright, so you got plenty of clearance, because there's chances are you're going to be using this mine while you're entirely stuck underground. So, now, depending on whether or not you're in an atmosphere environment or not, depends on how you're going to go about building next. So you want to make sure you have your cargo. Let's imagine for one we're not on Earth. Let's say we're on any other planet that doesn't have oxygen. So you want to ask yourself, does it have an atmosphere? Pertam and Alien both have atmospheres that you can pull using just an air vent. In those instances, all you would need is just a little air vent right here, and that's it. You could, technically speaking, live indefinitely inside of this by setting this air vent to pull the oxygen out of the air and fill the cockpit. That's all you would need. But let's say you don't have that option. In that case, what you would probably actually do is not what I did, which is both my top ports here and here are covered by my battery. But it's okay, because I have this port at the top ready to go. You're going to then want to go to your oxygen tank. Let's go to here. And then, just to be on the safe side, go with an H2O generator. And as far as I'm concerned, this is quite honestly completely optional, because your basic assembler can build oxygen bottles and oxygen tank, or oxygen and hydrogen bottles. So going a few trips just to get those extra resources into your cargo system might be worth just taking a few bottles of oxygen with you and a hydrogen bottle, just so you can quickly drive without having to worry about making these. But once you get that built, you just pipe it in to the top. Now, I'm actually going to build a side-mounted drill, which I don't do very often, but I'm going to give it a shot here. So we're going to build, fake this is in. Now, if I were to place my drill right here, which I can do, it kind of leaves me a little bit of clearance where I could bump into something underneath and actually damage my cockpit and cause me all kinds of problems. So what you can do now, go to an elbow or a 90 depending on how you want to call it. So all I've done is drop that drill down one block, and it now gives us a little bit lower to the ground. Right there. So that's it. That right there is your basic, that is the purpose of the ship. To get material, get ore. Now you're going to need something to actually make it fly. If you're going to go with hydrogen, nothing against it. Just be aware that hydrogen requires hydrogen tanks, which is going to make this a lot bigger. We're trying to make this as cheap as possible. So I always usually go with atmospheric engines, thrusters as my first option on my very first throw together miner. Now you can use the full size small thrusters, or you can go to the flat MOs or the flat atmospherics. If you're on a planet with low gravity but you have enough atmosphere to use them, more power to you. Just be aware that these are, I think, less than half of what the larger variants are. So it kind of, yeah, it's kind of a catch-22. Now what you can do is a little mix and match. So I'm going to add one. I'm going to add 3 lift there. Maybe even go as far as to give myself a couple lift there. So like I said, we're just trying to keep this as cheap as we can. When it comes to your lift thrusters, what's up, Bugs? How you doing, buddy? When it comes to your lift thrusters, you can never have too much. I mean, unless you're rocketing into the ceiling of a cave or your garage or what have you, you're never going to have enough lift. But when it comes to your propulsion or your horizontal movement, nothing wrong at all with adding a few small guys here, because you're not actually going to be rolling this thing around. At least you shouldn't be. Because again, this is just your starting miner. You're just wanting to get this thing going as fast as possible, so you're able to not have to deal with the joys of hand mining. Alright, so we've got forward, we've got back, we've got lift, and gravity is pushing us down. War crime. Bugs, you know I can't do a war crime in this game, but I do appreciate the effort. Now, before I forget, every vehicle you build needs to have. It's not optional, honestly. I'll go as far as to say putting a gyro on rovers and ships is just not, it's not optional. It's just, you have to do it. At some point in time, the rover you are driving will not be touching the ground, and you're going to want to have control of it through the air to make sure when you land, inevitably, you will land back on your wheels. Bugs, this is a complete private world. This is just for helping me get through the whole, the second half of teaching people how to get into the game. So now, because I decided to turn these sideways, both of these cargo containers are connected, but I am also able to mess around with each one individually. What that allows is, let's say I'm out mining and running around, I can come across something like wreckage or whatnot and grind it down and throw it straight in there and just not have to worry about it. So what you can do then, wrong button. There we go. Pull out your I keep wanting to say H2O2 converter, your conveyor converter. Attach that here. And then you want to go to your you want to go to your connector, or if you don't want to deal with that, you can make a small one and go with it right there. Now, just keep in mind, small connectors cannot connect up with large connectors. So what you will have to do is have another conversion here, or just immediately switch straight to a large grid like I originally had here. Plus, so now aside from the cargo in each of these and the drill, you're also going to have an extra, was it like 1,000 something? Yeah, an extra 1152 worth of okay. Extra 1152 of cargo in here as well. So, we're going to need to have some place to connect this up to. However you can want to do it, it's entirely up to you. You can have it on the bottom. You can go vertical with it. Especially with this being a such a small grid and such a very small ship. You can build one here. Just put an elbow in there and connect these two cargo points and call it a day. Or you can get a little bit more elaborate, but again, from my opinion, this right here is going to be the fastest kind of setup in order to get it. I just threw it together, not a whole heck of a lot of thought to it. My only concern was get something that can get me a drill, and I'm not doing it by hand, and I can carry considerably more than what my player can. So, we're going to go, let me go ahead and throw these in here from my inventory up. Go to here, I'm going to do a T-junction only because in reality I would absolutely be sticking a gun on the top of this immediately. Bugs, my day was wonderful, with the exception of being a little too stressed out at work because of audits and stuff going on, as well as just not really feeling well. So, now what we have here is the connection for the back of the ship. Now, if you are not aware, all four of these lights on the battery, each one counts as 25%, but it doesn't mean you're down to 75%, it's actually a little higher. So if you have 3 lights like this, it means your battery is over 75%, and then over 50%, and then over 25%. I'm not sure why they did that and didn't just go with, oh, you're at 75, you're at 50, you're 25, or 100. But Keen makes all kinds of crazy decisions. So we're going to get in. I'm going to press and hold my button to go, or one of my hotkeys, go to groups. I'm going to set this to where I can switch charge and recharge on and off at will. Now that we're flying, let's find out if I have enough lift or if I'm going to need more. Alright, looks like I have enough. Now, in order to find out whether or not you have enough batteries to lift, you're going to want to go forward, ascend, and go either left or right all at the same time, and you'll find out how much battery usage you use in the bottom right corner of the screen. And if it's over 75%, you're going to want to try to figure out how to get more power into it. But so right there I'm at 40%. Not doing too hateful. I've turned my nurse dampeners off so I can just come back down, turn them on. Doing decent. Alright, so that's all you have to do. Now you're going to set your drill to on the hotkey. Make sure you go to block tools, select your drill. That's all I did. Now your drill on your ship is going to respond just like your hand drill did. Your collection button for controllers, it's right trigger. For PCs, that's going to be left clicking to collect. And then for removing soil, just removing a large quantity of it, you can, so I can show you how it's going to actually work and how large. Left click, or for PC right, now I've just deleted this entire chunk. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to use our collection or right trigger, and we're just going to pick up. Now you're going to want to keep an eye on the weight of your ship, because again, I'm not running any mods, no scripts, this is just completely vanilla. The only thing I've messed around with is the weight of my the cargo capacity of my player's character. That is it. Alright, now that's all done. Drills are still being taken out. I haven't even filled up one, and that's already 6K, so best bet, just keep on going. Alright, so power is still doing alright. I didn't go all that far from base. Taking a wee bit to stop. Now there's two more basic alterations I can do to this ship to allow, come on, there we go, let it stop moving around, and you can press P or you can press Y or triangle depending on what console or PC you're using. And if you're on the smaller grid, it's okay. But let's say I'm connected to that base there, and this ship is connected here recharging. If I'm on that main structure and I press P, Y, or triangle, it's going to disconnect all grids and ships that are connected via connection points, and they're just going to fall, drop, or get left. Oh, thank you, Gummy, and welcome. You are a wonderful person as well. I do hope your stream went well. So, let's say I've gone through, I've already gotten a load of resources that I need, I'm hooked up, and this is just pushing out more and more material, and now we're at, I have nearly doubled my resources just from that one trip I did. So now we're going to want to make this vehicle a bit more versatile. We're going to add an ore detector. You will already have, that's great, Gummy, I'm glad to hear it. You will already have the components you need to build an ore detector because your drop pod actually comes with one. So you have your ore detector put on, go into your inventory, find your ore detector. It will always spawn in when you first place it at 25 meters. Go ahead and ramp that up to 50. It's not much. Large grid starts out at 75 and goes all the way up to 150 meters. Now, let me show you a little trick. It doesn't matter what planet you're on. It doesn't matter in the slightest. I'm going to come up to here. So what you're going to find is, watch there not be any around me. Okay, from here, well, there really isn't going to be any. You're going to want to look for discoloration of the ground that's not caused by shadows or these rock spots. That's just stone. Dirt has less stone and rock in it than actual, obviously, stone or rock. So you're going to want to go through and try to get to the deeper chunks of the ground that you can and not waste too much time on the surface. So, I think this is one right here that looks kind of discolored. Pretty sure. Come on. Oh, really? It's a swing and a miss. Alright. Gotta try to find some. Mars is probably the easiest planet because, as I've said numerous times in my streams, you're just surrounded by. This kind of looks a little discolored. You're just absolutely surrounded by the ore deposits. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so this is gold and silver. Not actually the best thing. I mean, I would absolutely mark this, drop a GPS, because the basic refinery cannot process this. Only a full-size one can. But that's marked. I know where that is. Now, is there anything else? Sometimes you can get lucky and find a third one. But this is probably just one very large gold and silver deposit. So we've got the higher tier resources. But you can almost barely... You almost can't even tell the difference in that ground, but... It's one of those things that you're going to slowly pick up the ability to just kind of take a peek for it. So you see a little bit of that discoloration right there. Usually ores are hidden on the ground by a light gray, almost white coloring. And on top of ice, it's going to be actually hidden under a black, kind of like dirty ice. Kind of looks like a spot right here. Not always right, but sometimes I do get lucky. No, nothing here this time. Your hand drill comes with an ore detector in it, and you're usually going to be able to do about 10 to 15 meters away, unless you're somewhere around a antenna, which will help extend the use of it. Oop, there we go. Light brown, I believe, is also a color that's on certain planets. Working on trying to find it. There's Mars. Perhaps even during different times of day, it'll actually reveal more and more resources for you. Whoop! Where was that? Where were you? Oh, okay, see, this is where you can actually kind of get really lucky. This is just a cobalt boulder. That's probably, if I remember the ratio, it's something like these boulders are 25% ore and the rest is stone. But this would actually be enough to get you a much larger... This would be enough to get you a much larger mining ship, or even a your first fighter, depending on how much you're able to process through it. The basic refinery does not actually have the best efficiency, and you're going to learn very quickly that simply building or simply using basic refineries to run... I have completely lost where I was there. Using just basic refineries to process your ores is going to take forever, as I'm about to show. So we're in. You know what? I'm going to add one more alteration to this, which is going to be the next thing.
You should probably pin the location of this.
I did.
You did?
So you're going to want to have this where...
What, honey?
Alright, find a sorter, connect a sorter to it. Then you're going to want to...
I can't hear you.
I'm going to actually have a double on there, that way I can have coming off the side and from the back. small conveyors, or the connectors. We're going to turn these off. We're going to set them to both collect all and throw out. Now we're going to go to this sorter. We're going to call this toss because I'm simple like that. Drain all. It's on blacklist right now. We're going to go to whitelist, and we're going to go down and find stone. Add that. Alright. So now we go back to these, and we tell them to throw out. There we go. Perfect example. Right there, it just threw out gravel. Why did it throw out gravel? Oh, it must have pulled it out. Come on. There we go. Alright. So we're going to go ahead and attempt to fly over there and back. So it's only 1.75 kilometers. So it's not all that far away. And if you're flying and you find yourself not having enough stopping thrust, tilt back a little bit, be very careful. Now you can use your lift thrust to help slow you down because you have a lot more thrusters in that direction. Alright, bringing it on down. Woo! Slow down. I hate to smash this thing in the ground right now. So, remember, we've only got 2 batteries on. Let's shoot right here. Alright, that was kind of a hard hit. Let's find out. Did no damage. Nice. Alright, so, we're now going to begin harvesting and collecting. Now, if you look at my connectors in the back, the small ones, they're now tossing out stone. What this allows is for me to make sure that the entirety of my cargo capacity is only filled up with exactly what I want. I don't need stone because I can get stone from base. Or level myself out. Now, let's see what we
This
get.
boulder is a lot bigger than what it looked like at first.
Alright, so now we've got 2, 3, yeah, so we're over 5k there, 7k. Alright, so we've got 7k iron, or stone. Yeah. 7k cobalt. You won't need any more than that for a long time. Because it's going to take absolutely forever for that to get processed. Almost to the point where if you can swing it, and you can tolerate enough of it, maybe build another basic refinery just to chew through the cobalt.
Just shuck into those down.
And if you're wondering how you can get medieval on someone, you can just fly over top their base while ejecting stones and just start hucking rocks at them. It's like, watch out, Ghost is getting medieval. Alright, we're gonna get over here, tip back, slow down. And then from this point, once you have this very rudimentary, basic type of setup, you can kind of, at that point, the game is pretty much open to you. There's no right or wrong way of building anything. There's no, as long as it works, yeah, so how's that old saying go? As long as it's functional and works, it's not a stupid idea. So now once this is hooked up, check the refinery. And I was chewing through all of that. Now the reason it's actually going through as fast as it is because I actually have my efficiency set on either ×3 or ×10. My only alterations to this from being a 100% vanilla is I've increased and messed around a little bit with the settings. Like I said, so my character can hold 2K. Honestly, I don't see that as much of a manipulation because these medium cargo containers are really nice to have. They hold 3375, still more than I can carry. So that's fine. And then it just takes so long to grind and build and process stuff. It's like, okay, let's try and speed it up, which is why I did that. And that's just my absolute basic setup for any server or playthrough I'm doing on here. So, as to recap, because I'm actually getting the melatonin starting to kick in finally. To recap, you can build your drill off the side of your cargo container or any cargo port as long as it's piped in straight to your refinery or even your survival kit. Hinge, conveyor converter, a couple pistons, and a drill. That's a very quick, simple way of getting you to not have to worry about hand mining. You can do this on Earth, any planet, and you can even do it in space. But if you have the ability to make more thrusters, I would almost guarantee that building a Atmo miner is vastly more efficient than building this rig. However, it's not always feasible for somebody to quickly throw something together like this throwaway miner and it actually be able to get to the ore and get back in one piece. You're going to be running out of battery power, not enough weight because you may not be able to make enough lift for it. Something. But yeah, after this point, you're able to build a base, build whatever, build another ship, build a rover, go up in, begin working on going up into space because you'll need hydrogen, or be really creative with the Atmos and ion thrusters. Let me put that away. But yep, that is it. I do look forward to playing, doing stream again tomorrow, back on Wednesday, my regular day. Not entirely sure what I will play. I might play a little bit of Fortnite with Alice, but that's still kind of up in the air. And then, of course, Friday I will be jumping back into the server and seeing what kind of shenanigans I can get into. But yeah, until next time, I do wish all of you well. Have a wonderful night, evening, morning, what have you, whatever your time zone is. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.